Hello and welcome to this discussion on Industry Spotlight with Creative First. Our guest today is Rohit Jain, President Lionsgate Play India and Emerging Markets Asia. He's a veteran with over 2 decades of professional experience and is the founding member of Lionsgate India. He has spearheaded the launch of Lionsgate Play across multiple markets in South Asia and has established several strategic partnerships with major telcos in India and Indonesia, including with major broadband players in various markets, OEMs, airlines, and global OTT aggregators. He has also been instrumental in establishing a robust licensing and syndication business for Lionsgate in South Asia, creating a multi-million-dollar business. Rohit has also established the theatrical distribution business for Lionsgate, which included blockbusters such as Robin Hood, Anna, and Oscar-nominated movies Knives Out and Bombshell. He's an industry voice at major media and entertainment forums. Prior to joining Lionsgate, he was the deputy CEO of Videocon D2H. He has also worked with Aon, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Deloitte. He's an All India ranker as a chartered accountant. Rohit, welcome to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Loita. Pleasure to be here.
You've had an interesting career trajectory, starting out as a consultant, going on to then heading the DTH business at Videocon, and of course now you're in Lionsgate. What made you foray into the online curated content space?
So, Loita, I think I've been fortunate. I've largely my 29 years of career has been divided across 4 or 5 jobs. Fortunately, all have been in different industry segments. And I'd call it my luck that I've sort of landed at the right industry at the stage where they were all evolving, which has been fun and joy. Streaming in the last 5 years has been great fun. Before that, Videocon D2H, when we started in 2010, it was right at the cusp of its growth, and saw some great years from 2010 to 15. Brick by brick to build the team from layer by layer, and that process is something that's always given me a joy, and that's why I'm here.
Tell us a bit about the diverse offerings of the organization.
So look, Lionsgate, I mean, we are one of the 6 large Hollywood studios. The company itself is divided, I'd say, into major 3 verticals. You could say there's motion picture, where we do all our large movies from John Wick to Expendables to, everything that you see on the theater. We, I think, do about 40 to 50 films every year on theaters, probably 15 odd movies which are widely distributed globally. And that's a thriving business for us. I mean, at this point, as we are in the middle of 2023, we're having one of the best years ever. The second business would be television, where we make tons of shows, right? We make shows for Netflix. I mean, Netflix, remember, became Netflix with one of the big shows that made it into a global brand was Orange is the New Black, which is a Lionsgate show. We make shows for HBO, Apple, pretty much every premium platform, right? And I think at this point, if I remember, we have roughly about 35-40 shows in different stages of production. So again, doing volumes of work over there. And then there's network, which includes all our streaming, the cable channels that we have in US under the brand name of Stars, which we're now internationally gradually shifting to the brand name of Lionsgate Plus. But I'd say those 3 large businesses, where we're producing movies, shows, and running a network business, sort of what drives Lionsgate. And then there are a lot of ancillary businesses, right? We have theme parks and gaming and consumer products and merchandise, but I think a lot of that thrives on the IP created between these 3 large businesses. So it's been great. As a company, we've had some great run. On the streaming, we were one of the first, if not the first, we certainly were one of the first studios to identify this as the future. We got into streaming back in 2016, significantly before many of the large players got into this space. A lot of large players have got into this space in the last 24 to 36 months, right? I think we got into this in 2016. John Feldheimer, who's been running the company for the last few decades, drives it in a very entrepreneur way. The company's always sort of stayed ahead of the curve, and that's what keeps it thriving and running.
Lionsgate also recently underwent a brand refresh. What market indicators led to this? And with the new identity, what are the differences in programming and service that consumers can expect?
So we've gone through a brand revamp, Loita, on the streaming side. Look, when we launched, like I said, back in 2016, streaming was a very different world in 2016 versus what it is today, right? The world has evolved rapidly. Our own understanding of how consumers perceive us, our content offering, which is very diverse. If you look at our content offering, right, it's extremely different and differentiated from a lot of large other networks, right? In a world where a Netflix or a Disney are large networks that stand something for everyone, right? In a way, they are the new age broadcasters. We were very clear. I think, as a platform, we've always worldwide stood for age group of sort of 20 to 45, the more adult age group, content that's very contemporary, super premium, stories that are provocative, stories that are, audiences that are underrepresented, whether that's Afro Americans, Hispanics, similarly content that we do in India. So I think a lot of that understanding has continued to fine tune as the streaming space has continued to evolve. And I think we figured that 2023 was a good time for us to revisit our brand name, colors, theme, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at our new brand. There's been tremendous sort of appreciation about it worldwide in every market that we've done. So we've of course changed the entire brand look and feel because I think it's far more vibrant and it's probably a better representation of what we stand for as a service and as content. And I think the second change that we've done is outside of US, we've moved from Stars Play to Lionsgate Plus, which helps us synergize brand into sort of one common space, whether that's theatrical, television, streaming. It focuses our energies and consumer recall towards the brand Lionsgate. Those are the two major changes that we've done. We've seen tremendous response around that.
Congratulations. On the content side, what are the trends you see in genre and format that are really growing and possibly could be drivers for your brand?
We're still learning, to be honest, Loita. I think if I sort of reflect back just on our learning so far, which, to be honest, have astounded me every day. A lot of our learnings of what works and what doesn't work, legacy learnings, were really the linear broadcast learnings. Right? When we launched Lionsgate Play back in 2021, everybody thought English was a phenomena for really the top 20, 25, 50 cities. Our service is obviously a large part of our service focuses on Hollywood content, international content. It's astounding today. Our content goes down to as many as 3,000 cities plus in India, which is amazing. We're finding great learnings in dubbing and subbing. We're experimenting more languages every year. We've experimented in Bhojpuri. We do a lot of Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, Bengali, Malayalam. We're finding that more and more consumers want to watch world-class, large-scale production value content. But a lot of content, consumers obviously want to watch it in their local language. So yes, there's obviously a lot of audience out there who's quite happy to watch it in English because we're still SVOD is still a little more premium space. But there's a lot of audience out there that's very keen to watch it in their local language because, and it's a difference that we've always sort of realized and accepted. We are an English speaking country. We're not necessarily an English consuming country. So local languages help. We're finding action, horror, some of those genres are playing out really well. We've obviously worldwide focused more on those genres a little more. That's what, as a brand, we've always globally stood for. So thrillers, action, horror, I think those genres always work more than some of the others. But there's just tremendous room for good stories at the end of the day, right? We experimented with, in the last 6 months, Lota, we must have experimented with Chinese content. We've experimented with French content dubbed in English, and some great stories. And we found tremendous response on that. So fundamentally, nothing takes away. Yes, you'll always find some trends in genres and languages and dubs and stuffs, but nothing still takes away from the basics of the business, which is to get a great story out there, right? We did the same with the Indian content that we produce. We did a show called Hiccups and Hookups. Extremely contemporary, extremely. I thought it's the kind of content that hopefully OTT sort of stands for, which is kind of stories that you're not able to do on linear often. And we got phenomenal response on that. It was one of the biggest hit of that year.
Well said. On the cinematic front, Lionsgate recently announced a partnership with PVR. What really resulted in this partnership, and what are your expectations from the success of this partnership?
So this is again a part of our doubling down on investments in India. Historically, if you go back as Lionsgate, we've done about maybe 2 or 3 movies in a year in theaters. Just to give you a reference, from 3 this year, we're going to do 9, maybe 10 movies on theater this year. We did think that post-COVID, the world has changed phenomenally, especially the theatrical. We're finding tremendous response to Hollywood movies. We're finding tremendous response to regional cinema. You would have seen the same trends. And part of our doubling down on investments and continuation of sort of our belief in Indian ecosystem is to go big on theatrical. But as a company, we've always been fans of collaboration, right? That's just the DNA of the company. We've always been happy to collaborate, work in partnership. Anything that adds value to the entire value chain, adds value to eventually what we're trying to do. PVR, with the PVR Inox merger, they're obviously one of the largest chain. They are the largest chain in India. We find their sense on theatrical, their understanding of consumer data is very rich. I think collaboration like that allows us to focus on our unique skill sets. It allows us to double down on investment, focus on content, focus on getting the right movies in India. It allows us obviously to put our energies on streaming. At the same time, it gets us a partner who has better skill sets and the right skill sets to focus on distribution, getting it the right, showcasing the right window, the right screens. I'd say these are sort of the kind of win-win partnership that creates success for everyone. Classical case in point is John Wick 4. If you see John Wick 4, it's one of the biggest blockbusters of this year. It's done close to $500 million in revenue in box office worldwide. But so was John Wick 3. John Wick 3 was absolutely one of the biggest blockbusters, right? If you see John Wick 4 performed in every market in the world, it performed, 10, 15, 20, 25% better. In India, we did about, I think we did a little close to 400% over John Wick 3. It's one of the top 3, 4 blockbuster, Hollywood movies of this year in India so far. Consumers loved it. We had massive audience reaction. And I'd say a lot of it is just in the way, in our partnership with PVR, we collaborated on this, we collaborated on marketing this, we collaborated on sort of distribution of this. So yeah, I think these are the kind of partnerships that just help fast forward our agenda to go sort of aggressive in these markets.
Over the past few years, and you've also mentioned, the distribution has forked between OTT and theatrical, resulting in a very strong evolution in distribution and consumption of content. How has this impacted the Lionsgate business in South Asian markets?
Quite positively, Lohit. I think this debate on theatrical and streaming, we are certainly on the side where we believe these windows help each other. If you go back and look at streaming, the titles that have done best are also the titles that have done best in theatrical, right? Yes, there's great value in direct to digital. There's great value in original shows. But you still want to go back and watch again. John Wick 4 did massive business on theaters. Also is our biggest hit on streaming till date ever since we launched, right? Because at the end of the day, and especially in a country like India, this couldn't be more true because we are a market which is underpenetrated in terms of number of screens. And hence, not everybody is able to catch the movie in the theater. But there's so much audience out there, even if you do 100 crore business on box office, you're talking about a small fragment number of consumers who would have gone into the theaters and watched. There's 10x people out there who still want to watch it, who are more enthusiastic because they know, hey, this is a big blockbuster movie, and I want to watch it on streaming whenever it launches. It'll be true for John Wick 4. It'll be true for Pathaan. It'll be true for any big movie. So I think the windows sort of rub off positively on each other with regards to large movies. Yes, it certainly created a world where you're saying yes, there are smaller movies where I think then the way we look at smaller movies is that economics of a lot of small movies probably didn't make sense in the earlier theatrical world because you looked at everything with the box office lens. I think it's great. A lot of those movies now get window direct to digital, thanks to which the fact that Pankaj Tripathi is a great actor was always known. But this new world allows him to become a superstar that he is today, well deservedly, right?
Yes.
The fact that Malayalam cinema made great movies, everybody knew that. It's just that now, because streaming is democratizing content and languages and regions, we are now suddenly setting up and watching, saying, hey, this is great cinema. It was always great cinema.
Yes.
I think the only thing is that we're probably in a little bit in a period where we're still trying to figure out the mid-segment movies.
Right.
And that's probably the only segment that will find its way, and the model, and look, with every hit and flop, we believe we've learned something new. And those will sort of find its right meaning and sort of economics. But overall, I'd say it's brought more good things than challenges. For us, look, it certainly allowed us as a company to monetize our assets much better. The content and the passion and creativity side, there's also business to be done. From a business point of view, I think it's allowing us to monetize every possible window better than ever before.
Yes, absolutely. In the online curated content space, Lionsgate Play is optimistic of capturing double-digit market share. How do you see this panning out?
I think we are well on our way to do that, Lohita. If I look at today, my guess is that outside of the two large global players in India and the 4 broadcasters, we are probably already one of the largest, if not the largest player, both in terms of subs and revenue. So I think the last 2.5 years has been great. As I always say, we are short of where I wish we were, but we are ahead of yesterday. The market today, if you look at the market, Lohita, I think, and there's jury out there on the market size also today. My guess is today market is about 35-40 million paying subscribers, and each of those subscribers probably have 2 to 3 subscriptions each, right? Which takes you to a market of about 110 million subscriptions.
Yeah.
But if you actually go down to the subscribers, because eventually one subscriber is going to take only one subscription for a particular platform. right? So
Yes.
in that sense, my guess is we are probably about 30, 35, 40 million, eventually going towards arguably 60 to 70 million, right? I think we're quite comfortably sort of on our path to double digit. We're already, while as a listed company, I can't put out a number, but I can say what I can say is we are already a very healthy high single digit. Uh, and in that sense, I think we've been more than excited about how last 2.5 years of our journey have been.
Right. Rohit, you mentioned earlier that, as a studio, obviously you all do have your own online content platform, but you'll also make shows for other players who are also possibly in the same segment. Do you see this duality becoming more of a trend in the future for other studios?
Well, I mean, in a way, other studios do that already, don't they? Because all studios were studios first, network second, right? I mean, today you see Warner movies on Jio and different platforms. But I think it's certainly true for Lionsgate.
Yeah,
Uh,
producing, a specific show for a, yeah.
and we're certainly, by the way, bringing that to India uh, to give you a little sort of peek into things to come. We launched Lionsgate Studio towards the end of last year. We've just finished production on our first slate. Our first slate has a couple of movies, a really super premium series that's been made purely as a studio, right? Because and the whole premise was two things. One, of course, globally we are a studio, independent of our streaming, and we wanted to replicate that in India as well. And we look at our streaming platform stands for a specific kind of content. But there are other great stories that we want to be able to tell, which are not necessarily the personality of the streaming that we run, but maybe it's a right fit for someone else. But there's stories that we would like to tell as studio. So we've just finished a couple of these beautiful movies, the kind of cinema as a studio that we love to be associated with. And yeah, gradually, I think over the next few years, we'll continue to sort of build on that.
So would you like to share with us what's going to be, the future for Lionsgate in the next 1 year?
I mean, like I said, we'll continue our journey on streaming. We'll continue to bring experimentation. There are a couple of more languages we want to experiment with. Get the audience's reaction on that. We're finding that the whole democratization streaming has brought in. Because if we go back to the history of content, I mean, the content worldwide was started by theater, right? The theater world was driven always a lot by the local catchment area. Then we graduated to television, which was driven by language catchment area. To now streaming that democratizes everything. And we're finding people in India. Me personally, I'm watching content in probably 7-8 languages today. So I think we want to continue that journey. There's a lot more distribution that we need to solve for. India is a fragmented country. We've been big believers of distribution, making it convenient for content to reach consumer. We want to find wherever it's convenient for consumers, we want to be there, right? And there's still loopholes, there's still gaps that we want to plug in distribution and make it more convenient for consumers to access content. There are a few more countries we have sort of focused on at it from an Asia point of view to see where do we go next, where are we seeing the trends of sort of streaming and sort of broadband connectivity and all of those improving. And from a studio point of view, look, this, from a studio point of view, 2023 is really what 21 was for us in streaming. We are building it out. We're great fans of sort of having, building out things patiently. So in that sense, we're in no hurry. We build out our first slate with a lot of heart, with I think a lot of passion behind it, and hopefully it'll lead into our second slate, which is even better. So yeah, I think in that sense, we'll continue to sort of build this big by big.
Rohit, thank you so much for this insightful discussion, and I wish you all the very best for your endeavors. We can't wait to see the new slate.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.